Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking a really fascinating journey into Istanbul, specifically the Istanbul of Elif Shafak's novel, The Bastard of Istanbul.
That's right. Our sources are excerpts from the book itself.
And our mission, really, is to unpack some key ideas about, well, how families work, the often tricky relationship between Turkish and Armenian cultures.
And how individuals figure out who they are in a place with so much history layered in.
Exactly. So think of this as, getting the core insights from a really rich story, sort of a shortcut if you haven't read it yet.
And what's so interesting is how Shafak uses this one family, the Kazancis, their intimate world,
Right.
as a way to look at these much bigger cultural and historical things.
Yeah.
It's not dry history. It's messy, sometimes funny, sometimes quite sad, everyday life.
Okay, so let's dive into that family, the Kazancis. We meet Zeliha pretty early on.
Yes, and her situation is intense.
Right. She's dealing with an unplanned pregnancy, this difficult experience, thinking about an abortion, going through that, and then she just comes home for dinner.
And that contrast, it really hits you. Her private turmoil versus this, totally normal family meal.
Yeah, totally normal.
Yeah.
Does that obliviousness, does it feel deliberate, like a family choice to just not see it, to keep things smooth?
I think that contrast is huge. It really highlights how these personal crises just happen alongside regular family routines, you know? Zelia's silence and the family seeming unaware, or maybe, like you said, choosing not to notice it, says so much about how they communicate. Or don't.
All the unspoken stuff simmering under the surface.
Exactly.
Which brings us to Asya, Zeliha's daughter. She's this nihilistic teenager. She even has a personal manifesto of nihilism.
Right, quite the statement.
And her interactions with her aunts, they're so sarcastic. She even throws that comment out about Zeliha having her out of wedlock.
Yeah, that's a pointed remark. There's definitely a lot going on with Asya.
It feels like more than just teenage angst, doesn't it? Is her nihilism maybe a reflection of something deeper in the family?
I think so, absolutely. It's not just rebellion. It feels like she's reacting against the older generation's silence, maybe their inability to really face the past.
So she becomes a lens, in a way.
Yeah, a lens for looking at that inherited weight, that trauma, and the fact she brings up her birth circumstances so directly. It shows she's aware of secrets, maybe questioning the whole setup.
And the aunts. What a group.
Oh, definitely.
You've got Banu, who does this 40-day Sufi retreat. Yeah. Which is pretty intense spirituality, right?
Very intense, a deep spiritual practice.
And she comes back claiming she's a soothsayer, reading hazelnuts, talking to her invisible jinn.
Mrs. Sweet and Mr. Bitter.
Yes. And her rules about bread. Don't forget the bread.
Banu's eccentricities are great. They add humor, but maybe they're also, maybe they're her way of searching for meaning or escaping something tougher.
Makes sense.
Her jinn, the good and the bad, maybe that's just her internal conflicts made visible in this quirky way.
Then there's Auntie Faride. Always paranoid, obsessed with disasters in the news.
Constantly waiting for the next earthquake or flood, yeah.
And Auntie Safri, the history teacher, who puts powdered sugar on everything.
Everything, even stuffed peppers, the book says.
Wow. And Grandma Gulsum, the matriarch. Sounds pretty formidable.
Definitely the one in charge.
I love that line about their reaction to anything unusual. Go ahead, see if we care. What does that tell us about them?
That see if we care line is fascinating. It feels like a coping mechanism, doesn't it?
Yeah, like they've seen it all.
Maybe. A certain resilience, or maybe even a kind of detachment to protect themselves. You see so many different personalities just trying to get by under one roof.
Okay, let's shift a bit to the cultural and historical side. That dinner table conversation where Rose is dating a Turk.
Ah, yes. That really brings the Turkish-Armenian tensions right into the story.
You feel it immediately. Auntie Varsanig's very strong opinions, Uncle Dikran's story, and the mention of the Armenian genocide. It's all there.
That scene is absolutely crucial. It just lays bare the historical pain, the grievances, especially from the perspective of the Armenian diaspora, Armenians living outside Armenia.
Right.
Auntie Varsanig's question, asking Barsum to show her a Turk who speaks Armenian? That's powerful. It speaks volumes about historical power dynamics, cultural loss.
And Uncle Dikran's story, even though it seems lighter, it kind of highlights that community resilience too, doesn't it?
Exactly, how they support each other.
Then we have Armanoush, the Armenian-American visitor, staying with this Turkish family. She's clearly grappling with her own identity.
Yeah, her internal conflict is a major thread.
And her online chats with the Cafe Constantinopolis group and Baron Bagdasarian. They introduced this idea of the Janissaries paradox. Can you just unpack that a bit?
Sure. So historically, janissaries were often boys taken from Christian families, raised as elite Ottoman soldiers.
Okay.
To be fully accepted, to rise in those ranks, they basically had to shed their original identity. So Baron Bagdasarian uses this idea
To describe Armanoush's potential dilemma.
precisely. Is there pressure, maybe unspoken, for her to downplay her Armenianness, to connect with the Kazancis or with Turkey itself, to be accepted by denying a part of herself?
That's heavy. And we also learned about her grandmother, Shushan, a survivor of the deportations.
Yes, her story it's foundational.
Her history, the trauma, the multiple identities she had to take on, it provides such important context for everything happening in the present, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Shushan's life story is the bedrock. It shows how history isn't abstract, it's lived, it's felt, it scars families for generations. It's a stark reminder of that enduring impact.
Let's pivot slightly to love, relationships, identity. Zeliha and Aram, their relationship is unconventional.
Definitely not typical. They aren't married.
And the book hints it's because of Zeliha's past trauma, right?
That's the strong implication, yes.
And Aram, he's Armenian, living in Istanbul. He faces difficulties but refuses to leave for America. He seems deeply connected to the city.
He does. And his perspective is really interesting because it contrasts with the diaspora Armenians we meet earlier. Well, he represents a different way of dealing with identity staying, finding a place within that complex, historically charged city. His love for Zeliha, too, crosses those cultural lines.
There's a kind of hope, maybe.
I think it offers that, yes. A connection despite the divisions.
We also get little glimpses into Asya's world, the dipsomaniac cartoonist declaring his love for her.
Yeah, amidst her cynicism, there's this connection.
And Rose, Armanoush's mom, being so overprotective about her trip to Istanbul, especially about meeting Mustafa.
That mother-daughter dynamic, plus the cultural anxieties. Rose's protectiveness probably comes from her own history, her own fears about what Armanoush is stepping into.
It all adds layers to their individual searches for connection, for belonging.
Definitely. Everyone's looking for something.
Okay, symbolism. It feels like it's everywhere in these excerpts. Food, especially.
Oh, food is huge. It's culture, it's family ritual.
Bonus theories about bread, Savri adding sugar to everything, and Grandma Golsom's Ashur. That feels particularly significant. It's described as a symbol of continuity, stability.
Yes, ashur is perfect for that. It's a dish made with so many different ingredients, grains, fruits, nuts, all coming together after, traditionally, a period of hardship, like Noah's Ark landing. It symbolizes unity, resilience.
Bringing disparate things together.
Exactly. A powerful image in this context.
And then there's the pomegranate brooch. It keeps coming up, seems to hold secrets.
It does. It feels like a tangible link to the past, doesn't it?
Yeah, connecting generations. Bernu seems very attached to it, and there's this hint it might have belonged to Armanoush's grandmother, Shushan.
That possibility hangs there. The brooch is like a silent witness to all the hidden histories, the family secrets, the trauma. Its journey mirrors the family's own complicated past.
We also noticed Johnny Cash music popping up for Asya.
Yeah, her personal soundtrack. Maybe her way of connecting to something outside her immediate world.
And this interesting observation that the Kazanci family seems to, forget their own stories but remember everyone else's. What's that about?
That selective memory. Maybe another coping mechanism. Easier to focus outward than to look too closely at their own potentially painful history.
Could be. Avoiding the difficult stuff.
It's a common human thing, isn't it?
True.
Yeah.
Okay, so finally, we get to the climax in these excerpts. Mustafa's return.
After years away, yeah, he just shows up with a rose.
The family goes into a frenzy preparing, but there's this huge tension underneath.
You can feel it. And Mustafa himself is struggling, feeling like he's living two lives, visiting the shrine of El Tiradito.
Which is a shrine for someone believed to have died unfairly, seeking justice or peace.
Right. It suggests he's carrying a massive burden of guilt, looking for some kind of release, maybe confession.
And it's heavily implied. Well, it seems clear he's Asya's father.
Yes. That's the secret Banu's been carrying.
And then, the poisoned ashur. It's shocking. He eats it.
It's incredibly dramatic. His return forces this confrontation with the past he's tried to escape.
And eating the ashur, it feels almost like a choice, a way out.
It can definitely be read that way. A symbolic act maybe of facing his past, his guilt, and finding a final, albeit tragic, escape from it all.
And Banu's role in it. Her justification.
It's complex. Her actions, however extreme, seem driven by this fierce desire to protect Asya, maybe to finally end the cycle of secrets and pain. It's dark, but you see her twisted logic.
Wow. Okay, so let's try and wrap this up, this deep dive, pulling these threads from the excerpts. It really shows us this incredibly intricate picture.
It really does. Family ties, the weight of history, cultural identity, searching for belonging, the power of secrets.
Yeah, all woven together. And some surprising things, like seeing that long Turkish-Armenian history play out inside just one family,
Right, in their living room, basically.
and the whole dramatic turn with Mustafa's return and death.
What really stands out, I think, is how these very specific cultural contexts, Istanbul, Turkish family, Armenian diaspora, actually shed light on things that feel universal.
You mean like family dynamics, identity struggles?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The search for who you are, how the past shapes you, those are things everyone grapples with, even if the details are different. The novel gives us this really powerful way to think about those big human questions.
So maybe a final thought for you listening. Consider how your own family history, maybe the unspoken things, might shape the lives and relationships around you.
That's a good question.
Are there pomegranates, symbolic things or maybe hidden stories in your own family? It makes you think about how time works, how the past keeps circling back, and how we all deal with what came before.
Different ways of remembering and forgetting.
Exactly. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.